Fighting is continuing in Ukraine as the Russian military moves ahead with its military operation despite attempts to reach peace. Ukrainian civilians have now begun to take up arms in an attempt to protect the capital, Kyiv. I'm Ismaran Ratnam, and this is Daily Mirror World Focus. As the crisis continues in Ukraine, the fighting is now nearing the capital, Kyiv. Joining me live from Kyiv is Member of Parliament Kira Rudik. Firstly, how are things in Kyiv right now?
So just a minute ago, there has been a huge destruction attack on Kyiv. It was the shelling, and they attacked two airports, and you probably will find a video right now of like a massive explosion on the airport, and we will just know like what's going on in a few, and if some people were killed. But this is what's been happening for the last 5 days. Russia has declared war on us 5 days ago, and since then they have been constantly shelling our cities, and then they tried to move the troops inside the cities. And this is why I decided to bear arms and form the resistance group to be able to protect from the Russian soldiers everything that is dear to me: my home, my city, and my country.
So we are still seeing a lot of fighting taking place despite attempts to reach a settlement, despite talks taking place between Russia and Ukraine.
So I can, like, you probably hear sirens. I can tell you right away that as a country that has been at war with Putin for 8 years, there is no talks to Russia. So if Putin says, I want peace, this means that he's gathering the troops. If he's saying, these are not my troops, it means it's his troops. And if he's saying, I want a peace treaty, it means that he is gathering the troops and will be shelling the cities right same way as before. Look, the negotiations about peace finished like less than an hour ago, and it already has been a massive attack on Kyiv. How can you trust this person? How can you trust this leader? And I had zero doubts about this is what's going to happen, because he is crazy, he is tyrant, and he needs to be destroyed.
Did Ukraine anticipate this sort of attack, MP? I mean, there was a lot of warning signs coming from the US and other countries as well. But did you actually think that President Putin will actually go ahead with this operation?
Well, he was very clear and adamant about what he's going to do. So his rhetoric was not, he said, I may attack. He said, I will attack. So, and this is right now on the whole world to figure out what to do, because Ukraine is standing up not for only ourselves, we are standing up for the rest of the democratic world. If we fail, there will be nothing to stop him. So that's why we are asking NATO countries and other countries to provide the no-fly zone over Ukraine. It's crazy. We need no-fly zone to be able to protect ourselves and our country and our cities from Putin's rockets. He is basically destroying the cities right away.
How are the people? I mean, how is the city itself? The people, they were trying their best to prevent the Russian forces from entering the city. Is that gathering momentum, or is it sort of a losing battle the way you see it?
Well, it's an ongoing battle that we are winning so far. First of all, people are bearing arms to form smaller groups and then help to patrol the city. Because when you're imagining how the Russian troops are coming in, it's not like you have seen in movies about Second World War when the parade is marching on the central street of the city and saying, oh, we took it. It's like a small amount of people, 2 or 3, armed on the car, who look like just you and me with no signs, who are trying to get into the city and then disrupt it. And this is why the resistant crews are so important, to help neutralize these groups.
There are a lot of protests taking place around the world in support of Ukraine, even in Sri Lanka. We see, Ukrainians taking to the streets, protesting opposite the Russian embassy here in Colombo, as well as in other parts of the country as well. How is that helping your cause? How is that, the sort of support that you're getting from Ukrainians and even others around the world?
Well, first of all, we are extremely grateful because I have received emails and messages and pictures from all over the world. And it's so amazing that people whom we never have seen, who are just supporting our cause and supporting Ukraine. Second, it's a good push for the government to actually start acting instead of just sharing their concerns. Because when they see the people on the street, they say, well, okay, maybe these people can sustain a little bit tax raising, but that we will be able to send NATO troops back to Ukraine. So it's extremely important. And on the personal side note, for some reason, I haven't seen any protests to support Russia. And even inside Russia, there was no protest to support Putin. Why is that? Putin is rebuilding not the Soviet Union. Putin is rebuilding Russian Empire. And he's very adamant about it right away. He was saying it in his speech before he invaded Ukraine. I believe in Russian Empire. I'm going to build it. I believe that all the nations that appeared after that, they were like misunderstandings. And I need to build it up again and create like a good place for everyone. And he's crazy. He doesn't realize that there are countries who are so far away from being parts of Russian Empire. And Ukraine is the first of those countries. We are so different than Russia. We are so different than Russian idea of how the countries will be developing. And that's why it's a sore in Putin's eye.
Talk to us, this photograph of you holding a weapon is going viral on social media, and it's been seen a lot here in Sri Lanka as well. The idea of having to take up arms despite being a legislator. We've also seen, I think, even normal civilians, former beauty queens also taking weapons. Is this something you ever expected in your lifetime that you would be doing?
So first of all, it was an occasional picture. And it was taken because I felt like I need to inspire women that they can do the same things that men do. And we both, both of us, we care for Ukraine, we care for our families, and we need to be able to have a right to protect ourselves.
I'd also like to know a bit about your president. We see him also in TV images, taking to the streets, speaking to soldiers. How is the government handling this whole situation? How are they, are they managing to encourage the people to stand their ground? How is the situation there?
No, the government has been not bad, and the president, though I have been his toughest critic beforehand, he's right now doing pretty well. So he's not fleeing. He stands with Ukraine and he's doing his job. He says no step back, and I respect him for that.
So despite being his critic, you feel that everyone is now united in this fight against Russia?
Well, today today I came back to Parliament as a leader of the party to work on the plans for the next week, and I can tell you that we were united more than ever. No politics talk, just bam, 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 bam. This is what we need to do.
But your president did also say that the international community has, in a way, let down Ukraine. They have been giving support by way of sanctions and maybe even militarily, but not really taken concrete action. Do you feel that there's more that the world can be doing to stop this war?
Well, as I said, the most important thing that we need to get is a no-fly zone over Ukraine. And yeah, obviously this is like the main point. It's either we are getting it or no. And if we are not getting it, then like how do we survive? And I understand the frustration of the president that we didn't get this zone.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on our program, and we do hope that you are safe and you continue to be safe.
Thank you so much.
I also spoke to former Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Rohita Bogalagama and got his perspective on the situation in Ukraine.
In fact, my take on the situation is, as going by what the NATO chief himself has said this morning, this had been a long-term plan, exercise, not an exercise by accident. And President Putin has planned it well to make such an assault directly on the soil of Ukraine. Thereby, I see the execution is going to be the target of Russia, very well planned, and the execution has now started accordingly. Though there is brutality associated, because as of now, within the 24 hours, the casualty rate seems to be pretty high. Though Ukraine claims there had been also damage to the military collaterals, but at the same time, the ground assault is rather heavy even in the Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. So that shows Russia has planned it for some time, and the timing has come right for them. Looking at the NATO alliance and also the United States, though they are announcing sanctions after sanctions, whether it will have an impact or immediate effect on the current war situation or the war right now between Ukraine and Russia. So therefore, these sanctions may take its toll in terms of long-term repercussions. But I think Russia has taken good stock of these things straight away. Other they would have gone in a planned manner. What they stand to lose in the short term may be a major gain that they are calculating in the long run, taking over a country like Ukraine with so much of natural resources. And they blame the reason being given, being that Ukraine is a puppet state of the West. And therefore, they need not want any presence in the locality, which will dictate to their security and also become a threat to their defenses. So this being said by President Putin, I think we have to expect this to be a ground war between Russia and Ukraine. I don't think US is going to mount any sort of ground troops. The American troops in order to protect Ukraine in that sense of the word. And also the Western troops may not move into Ukraine for the sake of protecting another state within the European continent. So therefore, I think we have to expect a long-term engagement between Russia and Ukraine. And what the calculations, as I see, the military might of the Russia may be able to overtake the Ukrainian defenses once they have the collateral damage targeted at the Ukraine installations, which Russia knows so well because Ukraine was part of the USSR, and their military or the defense establishment, the industry was concentrated in Ukraine. So they know you have to target well. The ground conditions are well known to the Russians. The people are also equally known to the Russians because they come from the same fraternity. So that I think we have to expect a long-term engagement.
You know, when countries like, let's say, Russia decides to invade another country, what do international conventions tell us what we can do and what we can't do? You know, how should the community react in situations like that?
Obviously, in fact, is a violation of international law, and you can't invade another country and also threaten the territorial integrity of another country, state, and thereby, I think, on the textbook analysis of the situation currently, what Russia has done is a total violation by going into another country. There's no justification whatsoever to move into another country, and it's an invasion. That's a word used, which is deployed and also been condemned in terms of international recognition.
Well, that's all the time we have for you on this program. Join us again for another Daily Mirror World Focus.